Hello, today we are going to cover lesson 5, which is on teen pregnancy. So I'm going to expand my screen here, and if you're following along, we are on page 34. All right, so this is where we have our story, so let's go ahead and read through this. Rochelle was concerned about her older brother, Leo. Leo was going out to clubs at night, often not returning until dawn, and bragging about his sexual encounters. Rochelle feared that Leo was putting himself at risk for sexually transmitted infections, or STIs, and HIV, or risking getting a girl pregnant. When Rochelle asked Leo about this, he only said he was being safe. Then a girl called the house asking for Leo. She said that she was pregnant and that Leo was the father. When Rochelle told Leo about this call, he said it wasn't his problem. All right, so what do you think? Let's summarize the facts. To agree with Leo that the girl's pregnancy is not his problem, why or why not? And name 3 ways Leo could have avoided this unplanned pregnancy. And what should Leo do now in case he really is the father? So I want you to take a few minutes to respond to page 34 and then resume playing this. I'll give you some ideas. So go ahead and work on this and then come back. Okay, so this is what we know. We know Rochelle has an older brother named Leo. We know he's partying a lot and bragging about his sexual encounters. And we know that a girl called the house claiming to be pregnant with Leo's child. Number 2, do you agree with Leo that the girl's pregnancy is not his problem? Why or why not? Well, I can't answer that one for you, but I do just want to remind you that it does take 2 people to create a pregnancy. Number 3, some ways Leo could have avoided this unplanned pregnancy. Well, of course, he could have remained abstinent, or he could have chosen to use condoms. He did say he was being safe, but we don't really know what that means. Maybe he could have not been out partying so much. Those are some ideas. What did you come up with? And last one, what should Leo do now in case he really is the father? Well, he should probably tell his parents sooner rather than later. He should probably discuss all the options with the baby's mother. He should probably start taking responsibility for this and maybe start making some better choices with his time. All right, let's proceed. So in this lesson, we're going to revisit our decision-making skills. You remember DECIDE. We're going to talk about prenatal care and parenting, the safe surrender law, and adoption and abortion. All right, so let's talk about teen pregnancy. There are over 250,000 unplanned teen pregnancies each year in the U.S. Why are there so many? What do you guys think? What are some options for teens? So we can give birth and raise the baby. We could give the baby up for adoption. We could use the safe surrender law or the safe haven law. We could have an abortion. So we're going to be covering each of these one at a time. And as we do so, I want you to be thinking about pros and cons, or positive and negative consequences for each of these 4 areas: keeping the baby, safe surrender, adoption, and abortion. You'll be using these pros and cons for the assignment in your packet today. Okay, so let's start with keeping the baby. So one thing we need to make sure of if we're planning to keep this baby and go through the pregnancy, or if we're planning to give our baby up for adoption, we want to make sure the baby is healthy, right? So as a pregnant mother, we need to make sure that we're eating a healthy diet and exercising. We should not be using any alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs. We just don't know of any safe amount for the baby. You know, some women can have a little bit of alcohol through the pregnancy and not have any complications. Other women might do the same thing and have a baby born with birth defects. So the recommendation is no drugs, alcohol, or tobacco during pregnancy. Those all actually cross the placenta and get right to the baby. All right, and then a pregnant mom. So this would involve the dad too, I hope, right? He should be encouraging her to eat healthy and exercise and abstain from drugs. But we need to get regular checkups from the healthcare provider. When you're pregnant, you typically go to the doctor about once a month. And enroll in childbirth classes so you are prepared for delivering the baby. All right, and then getting ready to raise this child. These are some things to consider in order to be a responsible parent. Enroll in parenting classes, and this is great to do together so that you can both be on the same page with your parenting. Control your emotions and or violent tendencies. So try to take care of any emotional concerns, anger issues before the baby is born. Find good childcare. Provide a safe and loving home. And provide regular health care. So make sure we have insurance ready to go for the baby. Provide nutritious food, clothing, and a safe environment. And be ready to adjust your schedule to meet the needs of your child. So before we go on, I want you to stop and think about this. What would be some positives and negatives for being a teen parent? And I also want you to think of this. Could you do all of this right now if you were faced with a teen pregnancy? All right, so some positives would be that you get to, I can't tell you what to say here, but these are just some ideas. You get to raise the baby. You get to see the baby grow and develop. It's your parenting style. Negatives would be that you probably will have a drastically different life, kind of give up that teenage life now. Obviously going through labor and deliveries. Sometimes there's complications and it's certainly painful. Trying to think of some negatives right off the top of my head here. I'm stuck right now. I'll probably have more in class when we cover this. All right, let's move on to the safe surrender law. So you may have seen this image at hospitals or also at fire stations. Those are all what we call safe surrender sites. So with the safe surrender law, a parent can surrender their baby within 3 days of birth, where we see this site, so at fire stations and hospitals, no questions asked. As I said, hospitals and fire departments are safe surrender sites. The parent does not have to give out personal information. The baby will be taken into good care. All information is kept confidential, and the baby can be reclaimed within 14 days. So what happens is when you take the baby to drop the baby off, you will be given a questionnaire to fill out, which you can take home and fill out, and you don't have to fill it out. But imagine being that baby who was surrendered. It might be nice to have some family history, medical information about your family would be helpful, right? But you don't have to do that. The baby and the parent will be given matching bracelets, like ID bracelets. And that is what you would use to claim your baby within 14 days if you should change your mind. All right, I would like you to, if you're watching the screencast, I would like you to go to the slideshow and watch this video. They do a good job of covering the details of the safe surrender law. So what would be some pros and cons? So positives could be that you could be giving so I guess I didn't finish this up. So the purpose of this law is so that babies are not dumped or abandoned. So instead, the babies will be taken into good care and then adopted by people who obviously want to have a baby. So positives or pros would be giving a baby to a couple or a person that maybe couldn't have a baby. You're still going through with the pregnancy as opposed to terminating the pregnancy. You might be able to give your baby a better better life or better family situation than what you can provide. Those might be a couple of ideas. Negatives could be that you don't have your baby, right? You maybe don't agree with the way that your baby is raised. Not that you're going to know about it. You might just always wonder, where are they? What do they look like? Where would they be right now? How old are they? Those could be some emotional struggles that you might be stuck with. All right, let's move on to adoption. So adoption is not an easy decision. This is when a person decides or a couple decides to legally give up all of their rights to their child. So you can imagine how that is difficult. You might look to family members, trained staff, and social workers for guidance on helping you make this decision. You might meet the adoptive parents. If it's an open adoption, you might meet them. You might actually get to choose them. And they may keep you informed about your child's development if it's an open adoption. If it's a closed adoption, you may not have any contact with the parents, the adoptive parents, or the child. So, a big decision. Positives. Again, you might be providing a baby for a family that couldn't have one. You might be able to give your child a better life than what you could offer. Very similar to the safe surrender law. Other positives, if it is an open adoption, you might be part of that baby's life and get to watch them grow up. Negatives could be, I imagine it would be very difficult to go through a pregnancy and then hand your baby over. That's got to be very hard. Negatives could also be if it is closed, just not being involved in the life, not knowing where they are and what they're doing. That might be hard. All right, and then the last one would be abortion or terminating a pregnancy. So this is a medical procedure where the baby is removed from the uterus. In California, minors can access abortion services at any age without parental consent or notification. Please remember, I've said this now probably 3 times. Even though that is the law, I highly recommend you get a trusted adult involved in this decision. This is a big decision for a teenager to make. Abortion is legal up to 24 weeks of pregnancy, unless there's complications or health issues for the mother or baby. They may do an abortion later in pregnancy, but typically 24 weeks is the cutoff. Abortion is a very safe procedure with complications occurring less than 1% of the time. And it is every patient's right to receive accurate information so they can provide informed consent prior to an abortion. So, what would be some positives of abortion? Again, these are just some ideas. I can't give you the right answers. These are just some ideas. Abortion positives. For some teens, it might be that they can keep it a secret, the pregnancy a secret. Positives could be, obviously, if it was a health issue for the mom or the baby. Maybe a teen, in this case, just isn't able to handle a child. Negatives, obviously, abortion is a very controversial topic, right? So many people believe that abortion is murder, taking a life. Negatives could be that it goes against religious beliefs. Negatives could be the regret that you might be feeling after having an abortion. Again, just some ideas. I'm not saying that these are right or wrong or my opinions, just some ideas. Okay. So that brings us to page 36. This is your assignment to complete. So at the top of the page, there's some statistics about teen pregnancy, and then the rest of the page should look kind of familiar. Remember our DECIDE process. So we are going to work through teen pregnancy using the DECIDE process. All right, so step 1 is stated for us. Remember, D, define the problem. The problem is a teenage couple decided to become sexually active and they got pregnant. Yes, I know she's pregnant, but It took two people to create this pregnancy. Step 2, what are the alternatives? Okay, we just covered 4 of them. So for number 1, please write keep the baby. For number 2, safe surrender. Number 3, adoption. And number 4, abortion. For step 3, for each of those, I want you to try to come up with 3 positive consequences and negative consequences. What are your positive and negative consequences? I was just giving you some ideas. Step 4 is to identify your values. So what are the beliefs that you have that are, super important to you that would help you make this decision, especially with, possibly, this is a huge decision, right? You don't want to make a decision that goes against your values. Step 5 would be to decide and act. What would you do? And then step 6, of course, we can't do this, but this is evaluating the results. How did it work out? Would you do the same thing again? How has it affected you or others? What did you learn from this? If you were faced with this decision again, would you make the same choice? Can you go back and change anything? You probably can't in this case, unless you did the safe surrender and it's still within the 14 days. Okay, so that is your assignment. So I want you to complete that. These are the directions again. All right, and then let's wrap this up. 3 alternatives when faced with a teen pregnancy include safe surrender, adoption, and abortion. True or false? That is true. 2, when making an important decision, it is critical to explore your options and consider the pros and cons of each option. That is true. 3, when making an important decision, it is not important to seek advice from your parents or trusted adult. That would be false. I always encourage you to seek out the advice of a trusted adult. Number 4, the safe surrender law allows a parent to safely give his or her newborn baby to a hospital or fire department, no questions asked. And that is true. All right, so what is the most important thing that you learned during this lesson? Ask yourself, how positive are you that you can successfully use this decision-making model in this lesson when making important decisions in your life? Ask a parent or guardian to review your material in your packet and tell you what were some important decisions they needed to make in their lives and how they made that decision. And that is a wrap up for lesson 5. Take care.